Here we are, OneNGlen back in action. We're getting ready to do a tutorial on how to remove a screen from a window and then re-screen it. Here in Illinois we had some bad hail damage last week or over the weekend, and it ruined a bunch of our screens. So I'm going to do a tutorial on how to repair them yourselves instead of going to a local store or hardware store and paying $25–30 for them to do it. So first thing you want to do for our types of screens is they have these little like locking levers up on the top corners, and I'll show you those right here. You can kind of see it through there. It's this thing right here. It's that thing. So kind of hard to get to it here, and you can't remove the screen that way. So what we do is, hard as hell. Anyways, we got these two tabs up here on the top. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to push those in and lower the screen like this. Lower your glass window like this. So now you have full access to the screen itself. You're going to twist this little thing down, and literally they just pull out. So there's one screen, and pull out one more screen, and then we'll go out into the garage and we will re-screen this screen. Alright, so the material I used, we actually purchased it from Amazon. I got a 0.125, which is an 1/8 of an inch spline, and I'm using the thinner spline because the material that I got for the screen is actually like a dog proof screen from Amazon as well. So when I did my big patio rear door after the hail came and went, that screen was perfect, no damage whatsoever. All these other screens that had just a regular old material, every one of them was damaged. So I'm going to replace it with that. Again, it's a thicker material, so I use a little bit thinner spline for this groove here. Now what you want to do in order to remove this is find where the edges split, like where it has been connected, and you just want to kind of use a screwdriver or whatever and pull that old spline out. Kind of running around the edge like this. So you're going to pull all that old spline out, and this can just go in the trash. You are not going to reuse this. Same thing when you take the spline out, you're just going to push up on this and tear out this old screen like this. Again, this you will also just throw away. Alright, so again we have it's a pet resistant material. It is a little bit thicker, so when you buy this you will want to make sure that you have the thinner spline. If you have the regular, I believe it's like 0.25 or 1/4 inch, if you have that size of a spline, it's going to be really tough to get it in to the to get the screen into the edging here, and it'll be difficult. So if you just stick with regular old 1/8 inch spline, which is 0.125, you'll be just fine. What I like to do is I like to overlap this front section here where I'm going to start, just maybe like 1 inch or so. That'll give you a little wiggle room when you push the spline into the groove there, and you want to make sure it's kind of squared up so it's relatively even on both sides. Same thing side to side, relatively even. Take a nice sharp knife and just cut off your excess here. Same thing, about 1 inch over, and you'll be just fine. Okay, so we're going to cut that nice and easy. We'll save this one for the next screen. So you do not have to start on any specific corner when it comes to these. I like to start kind of on just one edge, and I'll go maybe 3 inches in on one side and then start working my way up. And the reason why I do that is if you start here, when you start pulling on your spline here, when you start pulling it to get it to set in, it's really hard to get it. It'll start moving down the screen like this. So if you start about maybe 3 inches here, make the turn, then because this tail running edge right here is already inset, when you start pulling on your spline to set it, it already has a grasp here. So what I do is I just make sure this is all kind of lined up how it is, and I'll go ahead and start setting it about 3 inches on that corner. I have a regular old plastic tool here for setting screens. They do make metal ones a little more heavier duty. I feel like the screen one, these plastic ones kind of do the job. So that is what I use. It's a cheaper one, but it does the job. And sometimes these initial ones to get them set are a little tough. Again, because you're using a pet-friendly material, and the actual, this material right here is thicker than your regular screen. So it will be just a little bit tougher, but again, it'll pay off in the long run. When you go for the corners, use a screwdriver. Don't push too hard because you don't want to tear the spline, but use the screwdriver, get it to, you know, make this corner, and go about maybe an inch down. Make sure all your spline is set, and then you can come back with your tool and start running this. So what I like to do, as you can see, is just kind of put a little pressure on your spline here and pull it. It thins it out a little bit, and it'll make it a lot easier to get it into the groove here. There we go. And you just kind of run this down the line, making sure that it sets, and make sure it's kind of pulling in nice and even. Same thing, put a little pressure on it, pull it, and push into the groove. Alright, 4 screens done. Little tutorial action. Couple interruptions. The camera says 47 minutes. That is taking it out, farting around, getting it all back up and installed. You could probably knock out 4 with no interruptions, about a half hour or so. Half hour saved me, I'll say 60, 75 bucks. And yeah, I'd say it's a success. Super easy. I'll put this tutorial up here in a little bit. And yeah, want to save some money? Knock it out yourself. I use the plastic one because they sell metal ones, but sometimes if you press on the metal ones too hard, they will actually cut the screen, especially if you have like just the regular material that's not as strong as the pet protection one. So I use a plastic one. Does the trick. 1/8 inch material, not 1/4 inch material. If you get 1/4 inch material, you're going to be fighting yourself and you're not going to like doing this. So 1/8 inch material, pet protective one. It also gives you a little sun blocker in the afternoon sun or morning sun, whichever way your house sits. And yeah, OneNGlen out.